Hey, my ladies. So I'm just going to preface this live with a disclaimer. I'm so old. I'm an old lady now. But just for you guys' information, remember nothing in this live is medical advice. It's for education and inspiration only. I expect you to do your own research. My goal is to give you something to look into and you make sure it's right for your body. Nothing here is said to treat, diagnose, prescribe, prevent any illness. We're just chatting about wellness. So, okay, disclaimer over. Now on to the fun stuff. So I'm just gonna wait for everyone to join that's gonna join. I know, I'm sorry I didn't announce this live too early on. I was a little bit busy today. I've been putting out some fires on the back end of my business, and so I've been a little bit behind. Let's just put it that way. But anyone that's waiting for a reply from me, email from me, just hold tight. I know I am leaving you guys hanging for a moment, but I will be getting to you shortly. And any questions that you guys have, you can ask at any time. I did have one question come in the DMs from someone named Nicole, and she said that she just wasn't sure if she was going to make it or not. And so she was just asking about having symptoms during ovulation. And her first question was, is this normal? And of course, it's not normal to have symptoms during ovulation. It can be common, but that doesn't mean something is normal, which is a lot of times what a lot of practitioners and doctors will treat it as, right? They'll say like, oh, no problem, it's no big deal. But if you're having cramps and PMS up to ovulation, pelvic cramps, breakouts, moodiness, fatigue, and GI issues, like she was saying she was struggling with, I would say that's a cause for concern in the sense of that's not normal. It could be common, but it's definitely not normal. There are plenty of women who go through ovulation pretty asymptomatically. So, you got to keep that in mind. Usually that's a sign of estrogen dominance, like you were suspecting. That was kind of her question, like, is this normal? Is this estrogen dominance? And a lot of times that is a sign of estrogen dominance, because remember, when you are in your period or on your actual menstruation, your hormones are going to be at their very lowest, right? And then around day 7, estrogen is going to start to build because it's that hormone of growth, right? And it needs to be elevated in order to drop that egg. So we start to elevate around day 7, and towards the middle of the cycle, usually around day 14, estrogen will become dominant, and then it will tell the brain via luteinizing hormone that it will tell the brain, and then the brain will secrete luteinizing hormone and say, hey guys, it's time for ovulation, let's do this thing. And the ovaries respond by dropping an egg. And then once the egg is dropped, you are now, you have that corpus luteum out of that emptied egg sac, and you're going to start making progesterone. And then progesterone should become that dominant hormone and overshadow estrogen. A lot of times what's happening with women is they're not having progesterone in that second half of the cycle to suppress estrogen. So they're going 2 weeks with estrogen dominance when they're supposed to have progesterone dominance. And that carries into the next cycle, and it makes the next cycle a little bit worse, and the next cycle a little bit worse. A lot of women with PMS issues and hormone issues didn't happen all of a sudden, right? It happened slowly, right? We had a little bit worse PMS. We had a little bit heavier of a period. We had a little bit more moodiness during the luteal phase. And over time, sometimes 5 to 10 years, that built up into huge ovulation issues. And so I would suspect that that is a progesterone issue. It needs to be looked into. And keep in mind, guys, you got to test progesterone around day 19 to 21 of a 28-day cycle. Hey Jess, why is it when people cut out meat, they always say they feel so much better initially? Because their digestion sucks. And if your digestion sucks, you can't digest meat very well, right? And meat is hard to digest. You guys should usually hear me say, I don't encourage excessive consumption of muscle meats. I encourage excessive consumption of a variety of proteins, and specifically focus on things like eggs, dairy, and gelatin and collagen and bone broth, because those are super easy to digest. Meat's not super easy to digest. It's something that you can have around once a day, but things like shellfish and whitefish tend to be easier to digest. So meat-heavy diets are hard to digest, but a lot of people are struggling with digestion issues, and so when they cut meat, they think oh my god, I'm so much better, thinking that the absence of symptoms equals healing. When in reality, guys, when we're on a symptom suppressing diet, a lot of times we're causing underlying imbalances to just get worse and worse and worse. We didn't deal with the problem, we just dealt with the expression of the problem. Meaning that if meat expresses issues with you, there's a problem. Humans have been eating meat for thousands of years. Wondering about the microwave. Safe? No. Technically, no, but again, I'm always looking at reality, first of all, and I'm always looking at weighing your pros and cons. I look at health as kind of a bank account. You're always adding to your savings, right? So that when you're exposed to something that maybe not the best, you're pulling from that savings account, but you already stored a lot away. So the microwave technically denatures amino acids, specifically proteins. It's damaging to. When you use radiation, it can really cause the denaturing of proteins, which can cause more histamine issues and food allergies and things like that. So when someone has like a lot of food allergies or histamine issues, I do eventually say like, hey, what's going on with the microwave? Are you microwaving a lot of foods? Let's stop doing that. Keep in mind that if you're have the ability or in the financial position to switch out your microwave, there are steam microwaves that warm food actually via hot steam and don't use radiation. And that's something that I really want to invest in pretty soon. Because, you know, if you're honest, the microwave is pretty convenient. I try to not use it as much as possible, but I'll probably use it at least once a day. But I try to reheat my food in a pan if possible, or a toaster oven, or like if I'm going somewhere, keep it in a hot box or something like that. But sometimes there's no way around it. Been so great, no chin breakouts, but just got one. I believe it happened around ovulation. What could be the reason? Because usually it was before a period. Around ovulation, that's when your estrogen is the highest. So it looks like your improvements are happening. Keep in mind that estrogen spikes usually the day before ovulation. So your estrogen is going to be at its very highest. During the second half of the cycle, a lot of people focus on the luteal phase for good reason, because there's so many hormones in the picture. You're making progesterone, testosterone, estrogen. Your liver's kind of burdened. It has to detoxify all those hormones. So that's why a lot of people have estrogen dominant symptoms the second half of the cycle. But it's actually pretty common to have estrogen dominant symptoms the day before ovulation, because that's when estrogen is at its absolute peak. So if you have more ovulation issues, sometimes focusing detox strategies pre-ovulation can be really, really helpful. Taking those luteal phase detox strategies that you've been working on that have worked really well for you and just moving them up, you know, a week or so can be very, very helpful. But yeah, usually it's a sign of estrogen. So keep going, keep working at it. Things are improving. I know it can take some time and be frustrating, but I'm super proud of you, Rena. What brand of magnesium oil do you recommend, and where on your skin do you rub it in? I don't really recommend a certain brand, but I usually use personally and with clients one called Life Flow, just because it's cheap and it works really, really well. And then it just kind of depends on your tolerance for magnesium. Some people actually have very low tolerance of magnesium. They can only use like a drop of magnesium oil or spray. I do find that if you're super depleted in magnesium, according to your hair tissue mineral analysis, sometimes you have to increase your magnesium very, very slowly. And transdermally is usually the best place to start. So that was just a side note or a tangent. But I usually rub it on my torso just because it's oily and it like gets everywhere. But I have actually a good friend who's super into health and wellness, and she's like super thrifty and super frugal. And she was telling me like, Jessica, you don't have to get magnesium oil. You can make cheap magnesium spray just using magnesium flakes and hot water, and it will dissolve in the hot water, and it is the same thing. And I was like, thank you, Miriam. So that is an option too. You can totally make your own sprays. But I like the oil, at least now, because I have a bottle of it. And I usually do my torso just so it doesn't get all over everything. My boyfriend's physiotherapist, sorry, I got distracted. My boyfriend's physiotherapist recommended a plant-based diet, LOL. I'm trying to convince him otherwise. Do you have a story on anti-nutrients? I do. I would watch the gut health one, and I actually have one labeled vegan or plant-based or something. There's quite a few different stories. You know, sometimes with men, like, it's not enough for a woman to, like, you know, hit it home. So I would check out the Cows Eat Grass blog, Tomo Littlewood, Isaac Pullman, I believe his name is. Who else? Way Up Nutrition, he's also a really good one. And Kate Deering. All those people are really good for they have similar views as me. Or real food gangstas as well. Gangstas is how they pronounce it. Can you only have a long luteal phase if your period is late? No, you don't have a long luteal phase. Very often you have a long follicular phase. I would say like 9 times out of 10. Like sometimes you can have a long luteal phase, but usually the luteal phase, like it's so uncommon for the luteal phase to last more than 15 days. Just because progesterone the corpus luteum can't sustain you that long with progesterone. And so keep in mind that the corpus luteum is making you progesterone, and then eventually it just disintegrates and gets absorbed by the body. Progesterone levels will dip, and that's what brings on your bleed. So a lot of times the corpus luteum, unless you're so healthy and you have lots of nutrients and you're like, I'm making a kick-ass corpus luteum, you're gonna have a really hard time like sustaining a 15 or 16 day luteal phase. So 9 times out of 10, a late period is a late ovulation. Have you ever heard of the brand of yogurt called Siggi's? Want to know if it's considered higher quality dairy. I don't know, but it's delicious and I eat it pretty often because it's so good. And they use agave syrup to sweeten, and I like it because agave is pure fructose, which is super awesome. I do like to add a little more protein to it, but Siggi's does tend to be pretty high in protein. So yeah, I like Siggi's. It's pretty high quality dairy. I wouldn't say like it's the highest quality, but it seems pretty high quality. By the way, hi Amber. I was gonna send you a story the other day because I was thinking of you, and I do not know why, but like I could not, your handle name wouldn't come up. And I didn't realize you had 2 A's at the beginning of your name. So I tried like every combination. I was like, Amber, Ambi, like I was like, oh my gosh, I can't find you. It was about Matt Blackburn. Okay, Chelsea says, I've been having bad pain in my upper digestive system. I don't have a gallbladder and haven't for almost 3 years. These pains just started happening and I've added nothing to my diet. Any ideas? Well, when you don't have a gallbladder, unfortunately, this is what happens. And this is why I get annoyed, because it's like gallbladder issues are very estrogen and hormone related. 9 times out of 10, women with gallbladder issues have estrogen dominance, which causes your bile flow to be very sluggish, and then sludge really builds up, and eventually like the gallbladder gets clogged, and then they just say like, oh, let's take it out instead of fixing the issues that actually drove it. And so now you're left without a proper bile flow, which is absolutely essential for keeping the small intestine clear, absorbing fats, and creating hormones and carrying hormones. And so I would really look into, like if I got my gallbladder removed, or a lot of clients have their gallbladder removed, I really highly recommend them do their research and look into supplementing with ox bile. And once you don't have a gallbladder, usually if your doctor okays it, it's something that you would want to be on for the rest of your life, because a lack of bile flow is going to affect digestive function long-term, hormone function long-term, brain function long-term. I mean, not digesting your fats properly will affect your whole body over time. And that's not to scare you, it's just to empower you and say like, there are options for me. And I've had so many people, so many clients that have gotten their gallbladder removed just not realizing it was a hormone issue, and ox bile really changed their life. So that's something I would definitely look into, but I'm not sure about what's going on in your digestive system. It could be small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, could just be that you're not digesting your food well. If you had your gallbladder removed, I almost always encourage my clients to look into celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivity, because a lot of times that inflames the gallbladder and the bile ducts, and to look into low progesterone and high estrogen, because those are going to also affect bile flow. Hi Jess, and one more thing on gallbladder, is low thyroid function also affects the gallbladder. Keep that in mind. So if we have low thyroid function, we're going to see our gallbladder start to, its function start to be disrupted. Hi Jess, is there any CBD oil that you could recommend? I have panic disorder, GAD, and depression, but smoking weed triggers my anxiety. I'm not sure where to start, but I'm trying to avoid medication. Yeah, smoking weed a lot of times can trigger anxiety for some people, especially if they have cortisol issues already. So if you haven't gotten your stress hormones tested, I would recommend that, like cortisol levels, and even like adrenaline. But I really like Bluebird CBD oil. It's very high quality. I know it's very expensive, but keep in mind that CBD can sometimes be a really big scam because they're not really required by law to tell you how much CBD is in or how many milligrams are in each drop or each dropper. They are telling you what's in the whole bottle. And so if you get a higher amount of milligrams per bottle, each drop goes a long way. And sometimes like the lower quality ones or the less expensive ones, you have to take a lot more to get the same benefit. So I really like Bluebird Botanicals, but it is a little bit more on the pricey side. And it doesn't always work for everyone. Like CBD sometimes works for me, just depending, but sometimes it just doesn't do a whole lot. So it just kind of depends, but it's always worth a try. Hi, loving your Q&As. Thank you. I'm so glad you must be a little bit new. I've been doing them for like ever. And I always sometimes feel like they get boring, but everyone seems to like them. So I will continue as long as you guys want me to. Also having trouble using the bathroom. Yeah, I would definitely look into thyroid issues for sure. Okay, love your content. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. I have so much more content coming for you guys too. This year was like a little weird for me. I'm going to be honest. I had like a very, this year was just like a lot of growth, a lot for me. Like being on Instagram is a lot for me. And I know it sounds funny, but it's just like a lot of yourself. And then like coming out fully nourished and just growing so much. Like I think me and my assistant were sitting down. I was like, I started the year with 2,000 followers and jumping from 2,000 to 15,000 by the end of the year. Like it's been so much growth, which is amazing. And I love you guys. You guys know that. But it just was such a growing experience and learning experience, and it was very hard for me this year. So I'm finally like coming out of my funk that it was just a growth funk, and I know I've been pretty inconsistent with content, and I am done with that. I really want to be more consistent for you guys. Collagen isn't complete protein. Can you explain if it's important to have complete protein and why collagen isn't something we need to add? No, collagen's not a complete protein because it's just not. It's not the whole animal, right? And so it is important to have the complete protein, but it's not like you have to have complete protein every time you eat. Keep in mind, amino acids are kind of pooled together by the body. And I would say like overall, if you look at the course of your whole day, what types of proteins are you getting? Eggs are a complete protein, dairy is a complete protein, meats are a complete protein, bone broth is almost a complete protein. Collagen and gelatin are not going to be a complete protein, but they actually contain the amino acids that you're missing out a lot when you're eating something like meat. You're not getting a lot of the glycine, and the glycine and the collagen and gelatin really balance things out. So I'm not really stressed about collagen or gelatin not being a complete protein if you're getting a variety of other proteins. If you were only eating collagen and gelatin as your protein all day long, every day, that would be a worry, right? But I'm more worried for people that are not getting complete proteins ever, like beans and grains and nuts and seeds. Like, it's very hard to get complete proteins. But if you're eating regularly, like eggs and dairy and meats and all of a variety of protein, fish, shellfish, you're gonna get enough complete protein. This like weird myth that came from the 90s of like, you need a complete protein at every meal is kind of a little bit like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. As long as you're getting a variety of protein and the amino acids that you need, you're gonna be fine. Can B vitamins cause hot flashes, specifically B2 and B3 taken in separate doses? Yeah, absolutely. How much are you taking? That would be the first thing. Like, are you taking a really high amount? That could definitely cause it. I'm trying to think, like B3 can really cause, can really cause you to like, your metabolism can really speed up. And if you're not eating to fuel that, you can sometimes like get hot flashes, anxiety, like because you're not fueling your body. And so it has to kick up that cortisol in order to make some sugar, glucose, what it runs on. So make sure you're getting adequate amounts of carbs when you're taking B vitamins because it totally speeds up your metabolism. B2, yeah, I guess it could in a sense if you're doing high amounts. But yeah, I mean, any supplement can cause any symptoms. Every body responds so differently. But I'm not exactly sure why they would be, but it's absolutely possible. The only way to know for sure is to stop taking them and see if the hot flashes go away. What do you do with hair loss from PCOS? I don't focus on symptoms. I focus on the whole big picture. If I'm losing my hair, my body's under intense stress. Keep in mind that hair, Even though we think it's essential for life and survival, our body does not deem that so. And so if we are losing our hair, that is a sign of absolute stress on the body. We most likely don't have the nutrients we need. We're most likely not eating to balance our blood sugar, balancing our meals with protein, carb, and fat, eating every 3 to 4 hours, really making sure we're balancing our body and giving it what it needs. We're probably super stressed out, we're over exercising, we're pushing our body, or we're being exposed to heavy metals, or we have mineral imbalances that need to be checked out. Hormone issues can drive hair loss, but we need to look deeper. What is driving hormone imbalances? Hormones are just chemical messengers. They tell cells what to do. And so why are these hormones, why is one cell telling the other cell to do something that it's not supposed to do? It's confused. And so on a cellular level, we need to be giving our bodies what they need. And so when it comes to hair, when it comes to any symptom, that's the fundamental. Is your body getting the nourishment it needs? And does your body have the minerals that it needs? Those are the fundamental things that I focus on first with every single person. I don't care what their symptoms are, what their diagnosis is, I don't care. I'm looking at those fundamental things, because if your cells don't have what they need, why do we expect our hormones to function properly? And then once that happens, then we focus on the bigger things, hormones, gut, if they need to be focused on, but 9 times out of 10 they don't. So, but yeah, I mean, hair loss could be being driven by a lot of different things. And so it can get really overwhelming if somebody's saying like inflammation and gut issues and thyroid issues, adrenal issues, stress. And so I always look at the fundamental things first. Like, are you taking stress off your body by eating frequently, eating high quality foods, sleeping from, a decent hour, getting good movement in, exercising daily, but not overdoing it. Usually doing some type of strength training and making sure you're working to reduce the stress in your life and getting enough sunlight. Those are the basics for growing healthy hair and just having a healthy body in general. Do you find MCT oil beneficial? Also, do you feel the grapefruit, apple juice, olive oil, liver cleanse is safe? MCT oil is fine. Coconut oil is rich in MCT, but if you prefer MCT, I use both interchangeably. Like, I get annoyed. I'm not gonna go and melt some coconut oil, so I use MCT oil for things like dressings and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it is beneficial if it doesn't give you raging diarrhea. You do have to work up to it, but it's not gonna be like a fat burning, it's not like fat burning. It just has the benefits that coconut oil does, and that's why. And then the grapefruit, apple juice, olive oil, liver cleanse, I think it's called Dr. Hulda Clark's cleanse. It's very harsh, okay? So, a healthy liver cleanses itself, and a healthy liver needs protein, sugar, or carbohydrate, and proper fats, saturated fats, to detoxify properly. And if it doesn't have those things, no amount of liver cleanses, liver flushes are gonna fix the issue. Now, an occasional liver flush is not going to kill most people, but you do need to be very careful with them. They are very, very rough. So I've done them multiple times. I just think they're absolutely miserable, and I would probably never do one again. But I personally think they're safe enough, but it really is going to depend on the person. Why would taking B vitamins increase body odor? Lack of minerals. Body odor, especially if it's coming from the armpits, a lot of times is a sign of detoxification, especially moving of metals, specifically iron. And so a lot of people who start to make really good changes, healthy changes, stop putting antiperspirants on, they're like, oh my gosh, why do I stink so bad? And I'm like, because you're detoxing, you're moving things out of your body for the first time in maybe a long time. So body odor isn't always bad. I know it kind of sucks, but it is sometimes a very good sign if it gets worse for a period and then it gets better. But yeah, I mean, body odor is not necessarily bad. It's usually a sign things are moving. How can we improve T3? Heard it isn't a thyroid issue, but a liver issue. Yep, exactly. Because T4 that's made by your thyroid gets converted mostly in the liver, about 80% in the liver and 20% in the gut, and gets converted to T3 there. So, you gotta keep blood sugar stable. Most hypothyroidism, especially if it's low T3 hypothyroidism, actually has very little to do with the thyroid. and a lot to do with imbalanced blood sugar. People are literally not eating enough, not eating frequently enough, and not eating enough carbohydrates. They're on low carb diets. They're not like getting roots and fruits. They're just sporadically eating throughout the day. That's so awful for your metabolism, guys. So awful for your thyroid, and your liver takes the burden of that because your liver's responsibility, it's not the filter of the body, it's the battery pack of the body. It stores up glycogen to keep blood sugar levels stable when you are not eating, or you are fasting, or you're sleeping. And so if your liver has that burden, why do you think it's going to also exert energy converting T4 to T3? No, it's going to slow everything down. So that's what my whole program, Fully Nourished, is about, is healing your metabolism. And it's focusing on increasing the T4 to T3 conversion. Increasing your metabolic rate is going to increase your ability to detoxify hormones and also make hormones. And you find the body starts to make a lot of changes. Sometimes they can be a little rough at first, but eating more pro-metabolic is going to absolutely affect conversion of T4 to T3. Tips to boost immunity for upcoming winter and cold season. I really like oregano. I think it's a very powerful substance. Sometimes I keep iodine on hand to take if I feel like I'm coming down with something. I'm always going to take it. Not in high amounts, just like a couple drops. What else? I will actually cut up garlic into small pieces, or I don't cut it into small pieces, but I cut it up into 4s. I actually swallow it like a pill if I feel something coming on. And then I just make sure that I'm sleeping. And then keep in mind that a lot of times we start to get sick towards the end of winter after we've had like a low exposure to sunlight over time. That's very stressful to the body. And so getting light exposure is very important. If you don't have access to the sun where you live, then maybe investing in a red light therapy device, putting incandescent lights all over your house, especially where you spend the most time, can really help change your immunity. So, and then gut health is also a huge deal. But stress hormones are going to lower your immunity: estrogen, cortisol, adrenaline. And so I know you've been struggling with some of those things. So keep up the good work. You know, as you increase your ability to detoxify estrogen, your gut health will improve, and you'll begin to see that your immunity is a lot stronger. But yeah, I also do a lot of like warm liquids, a lot of warm teas, bone broth, things like that. Treating an ulcer with omeprazole. Thoughts? I know I saw your email. I said at the beginning of this live, I'm sorry I got behind on emails. I was going to respond to you tonight. I think it's just kind of dependent. It's crazy that you got an ulcer. I think it's kind of just do what you need to do, you know, especially if the doctor prescribed it. Like if you're in misery, I think you just kind of need to do what you need to do. Some other things for ulcers are like collagen and gelatin and bone broth can be really healing. And just like eating really easy to digest foods. But also like asking yourself why you got an ulcer. That is really interesting. Could be H. pylori, like there could be bacterial overgrowth going on that you're not aware of. Like there's a reason why that mucosal barrier broke down. So just questions like that. But I think you should take whatever the doctor prescribed for it if it works. Can potassium be anti-androgenic? Is it possible that magnesium will not work properly without potassium? Yeah, potassium can absolutely be anti-androgenic, for sure. It literally is anti-androgenic. A lot of people have high androgens because they are deficient in potassium, because it lowers stress so much. It's that literally like that longevity and that vitality mineral. And then magnesium. Is it possible that magnesium will not work properly without potassium? It's possible, for sure. It really just depends on your balance, you guys. Like I'm always looking at hair tissue mineral analysis, right? And you have your first 4 minerals, which is calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. And you're looking at the ratios. So I'm always looking at the calcium to magnesium ratio. I'm always looking to the calcium phosphorus ratio. And I'm always looking to that sodium potassium ratio. But then I am looking to that magnesium and potassium ratio. They all have to be in balance. You need your mineral levels to be in those optimal ranges. And most people are really deficient and depleted in magnesium, like dangerously so. And I would say 9 times out of 10, most people are also depleted in potassium. So those are like the 2 minerals that I think like almost every person that comes through my hair tissue mineral analysis almost needs. Like I would say like 9 times out of 10 they need it. But yeah, they definitely work. All minerals work together. They all need to be in balance. Other ways to induce a period without Vitex or progesterone, it's been 4 months without anything and hoping to try to induce it. It's more, keep in mind, guys, it's not about inducing a period. The period is not the goal. Like, the period's not the show. Ovulation is the show. And ovulation is why you get a regular period. You're ovulating regularly. Ovulation brings on progesterone. And then once progesterone will last you 11 to 14 days. And then progesterone will drop and it will induce a bleed. So, if you're trying to induce a bleed, that's going to be different than actually restoring your body's ability to ovulate. And restoring the body's ability to ovulate can take time. I first am always looking at, is somebody eating enough? Are they over-exercising or under-exercising? Are there maybe possible stressors that are holding them back? Do they have thyroid issues? Like, what are your temperatures and pulses like? Are they super low? That could be an indicator that, oh, there's hypothyroid symptoms right there. Do you have cold hands and cold feet all the time? What's going on? What's preventing the body from dropping an egg in the first place? And then that would be the thing I would focus on. I mean, Vitex does increase luteinizing hormone levels, which can bring on an ovulation and therefore help increase progesterone, but it's not always right for everyone. If you don't know your LH levels, it's not really safe to take Vitex. So, I don't ever induce a period. That's not my job. Doctors do that. If you wanted to induce a bleed, that's where you would go, is to a doctor. I'm more looking to help women restore ovulation and get their bodies back into balance. That's the business that I'm in. What to do with hair loss from PCOS? I'm losing so much hair. I already kind of answered that question earlier. Happy hump day. I feel like no matter if I eat every 2 hours, I can't balance my blood sugar. How can you tell if it's working? No weight loss, but that is okay. I wonder if it's because I eat higher calories and carbs now. What do you mean by you can't balance your blood sugar? Are you actually using a blood sugar monitor, or what are you using? A lot of times if we've had imbalanced blood sugar, we've been on low carb diets, it can take a while to get blood sugar balanced. We have to make sure we're eating enough protein. We've got to make sure we're eating enough protein. That is essential. And then we've got to make sure that when we're eating carbohydrates, we're eating protein with them always. It can take 6 to 8 weeks to start to see blood sugar balance out. So it takes time, but I don't know how long you've been at it. So those are the things that I would maybe ask. What is the ideal way to use progesterone cream with PCOS? I've heard day 7 to 25 and also day 14 to 28. I would say my camp would more be towards 14 to 28. It really depends if someone has an ovulation or not. So if someone has an ovulation or not, like someone's ovulating, you would want to implement progesterone post-ovulation. But if not, then I prefer 14 to 28 personally in my body. But 7 to 25 sometimes works if people are really, really progesterone deficient and have tons and tons of symptoms. They need the help of progesterone. So it just really depends on the body, and there's nothing ever wrong with experimenting to see what works for you. Sorry, I just get parched. Hey, can you talk about gut issues and the possibility of histamine problems with gut issues? A friend mentioned it to me as I suddenly have some fall allergies. Thanks. Yeah, histamine issues. Histamine is getting way too much attention, and it is a rabbit trail that people are chasing that I'm just stop. Histamine has nothing to, it absolutely is present in gut issues because you're not able to clear histamine properly, because when you don't have the proper gut bacteria to break down histamine, or you even have more histamine producing bacteria, you're going to have high histamine levels. And then a slow immune system, a body that's not supported properly, slow thyroid, you're not going to clear histamine properly. You're going to have low immunity. And so it's normal for people that are in a hypometabolic state. This usually happens after low carb, to have histamine issues. It's normal for people with gut issues to have histamine issues. It just shows you that you're not breaking histamine down properly. It can be a B5 deficiency. You do need B5 to clear histamine. You also need copper to clear histamine. A lot of times, I would say 9 out of 10, histamine issues are a copper issue. whether it is copper toxicity in the sense of you have a lot of copper in your tissues that's not bioavailable, or it's copper just straight up deficiency. And that can absolutely cause a histamine problem. So sometimes people are just chasing a rabbit trail, and I'm like, stop chasing that rabbit trail. Understand that histamine is just a symptom of the bigger problem. And as long as you focus on the bigger problem at hand, you're nourishing the body, you're fixing the body's actual function, histamine issues usually take care of themselves. If they don't, I always look to copper and B5. Also, I just tried coconut water for the first time today. Not too bad. Thought sipping on that would help keep my sugars into me on my long Wednesdays. Yeah, coconut water is the best, and it's amazing for potassium levels. It's amazing for blood sugar. So I love coconut water. And for all my clients that are low in potassium, they usually I have them use coconut water. Some snack meal ideas: struggling to get near 1,800, 2,000 calories. Are you trying to overcomplicate everything? Protein, carbohydrate, fat. Keep it simple. Where do you get protein from? Eggs, dairy, like cheese, cottage cheese, ricotta cheese, even a glass of milk, or meat, some type of meat, some type of shellfish, some type of whitefish, collagen, or gelatin. I keep it simple. Those are 7 things I can get my protein from. Then when it comes to carbohydrates, in-season fruit, root vegetable. 2 choices, that's all. Or like maple syrup or honey or something like that. And then fat. If my meat doesn't already have a fat, I'll add coconut oil, butter, have a piece of chocolate. Keep it simple. Food does not have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It's just food. And it can taste really good and tasty and delicious, but it doesn't have to be fancy. And so, my meals very regularly look like 2 hard-boiled eggs and some fruit, cottage cheese and some fruit. I do a lot of fruit because fruit is very good for your metabolism. It's very rich in potassium and other minerals, and it is that youth food. It makes you look youthful and glowy and fertile. So I use a lot of fruit for my carbohydrates. Fructose is the way to go when you have insulin resistance, which I've always struggled with. And then I also do like root vegetables, like sweet potato. And honestly, guys, sometimes I get so not fancy with it. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I need something quick. I don't have a protein. I literally mix collagen in water and just drink it down really quickly so I can have a carb and like move on with my life. That's how like not fancy I am with my food. So it just really like it needs to be simple. Like deli meat and some sweet potato chips fried in coconut oil. There you go. There's a snack. A beef jerky bar and some dried fruit. There's a snack. You know what I mean? Like just keep it so simple and make sure you at least have a protein and a carb at every meal. How to reduce prolactin besides Vitex. Well, keep in mind that prolactin suppresses dopamine and dopamine suppresses prolactin. So I always look to stressors. Why is somebody's dopamine low? A lot of times their serotonin is high, which usually means there's gut issues involved. And so do you have digestive issues? Because that's where I usually start. But other things that increase dopamine are having fun, making sure you're lowering stress, doing things that you really enjoy, having sex, spending time cuddling with your partner, spending time with puppies. Anything that makes you happy is going to increase dopamine. So literally go have fun, doctor's orders type of deal. And making sure that you are, encouraging your body to relax. And a lot of times we forget that. Like we really truly forget that. And I wish doctors would tell us more like, hey, are you stressed out? Like, when is the last time your doctor ever asked you, like, are you stressed out? So it's very important to lower stress in the sense of, like, are you doing things that just allow you to relax? And are you doing things just for fun? And then, like, are you eating enough carbohydrates and sugar? That does decrease dopamine. Usually there's some mineral issues at play, like potassium, magnesium. So it's hard for me to say like exactly what you should do to lower your prolactin because I'm not sure what's going on. And a lot of times there are other hormones at play going on. But I would say majority, like keep blood sugar balanced, keep stress low, make sure you're sleeping, like just the basics, foundational, make sure you're getting enough sunlight and like have some fun, like go out and have some fun. I can't thank you enough for all your info and help in taking your time for these lives. You rock. Oh, thank you, Gina. My dandruff and hair loss has been getting so bad. Can I do biotin to decrease hair loss? If it's a biotin deficiency, it will help. But remember, guys, hair loss and scalp issues. Well, scalp issues a lot of times have to do with gut issues. And so if you have dandruff and hair loss, a lot of times it's due to inflammation. And I would look to the gut. But hair loss in general, keep in mind, like I said before at the beginning of this live, hair is not essential for survival to your body. I know you think it is, but it's not. And so you will lose hair when your body is under intense stress. And so the first thing you ask yourself, am I under intense stress? And then if you're like, no, I'm not stressed at all, like I have no stressful things in my life, then you want to look to internal stress. Are you balancing blood sugar? Do you eat protein, carb, and fat every 3 to 4 hours? Do you eat tons and tons of inflammatory foods that you can't digest? Beans, grains, nuts and seeds, raw vegetables, lots and lots of cruciferous vegetables. All those foods are quote unquote inflammatory, meaning that they are kind of hard to digest. So, there's so many things it could be, but usually hair loss is stress related. Does this apply to appendix removal too? Appendix removal is usually, keep in mind the appendix is like a big bag of bugs for the digestive tract. I think the appendix rupturing and things like that have a lot to do with just like imbalanced gut bacteria or maybe even fungus, but that's just my like personal belief or observation, and I don't know that for sure. But no, it's not the same as gallbladder. Does a light colored stool always equal a bile issue? I would say like 9 times out of 10. Yeah. I'm on day 2 of my period, pretty heavy, minimal cramps, which is awesome. What would you suggest to focus on at this very specific time? Just let it happen, let it flow. There's not much you can do. Like once you start bleeding, you kind of have to let it go and let it flow. But I find that when I used to have a heavy flow, because I haven't always had like a great period, I would just if I could, let myself bleed. So there were not like such thing as a period panties at that time, so I had to like use an old fashioned pad. But I would probably invest in period panties now. I use like a menstrual cup, so I've never gotten period panties, but I would try to let it flow, because when you let the blood flow out, it usually your period will last a little bit less time. Keep in mind, sometimes a heavy flow can be the body like trying to get iron out, which is sometimes a really good thing if you have a lot of it stored up in your tissues. So as long as your symptoms are getting better, that's an exciting thing, and I would just let yourself be. Ways to support a new mom postpartum nutrients food. I think it would just be like the best to not stress about it too much. Try to eat as nutrient dense as possible. If I was going to have a baby, and if you're postpartum, like obviously you can't do much about it, but if I was going to have a baby, like I would probably prep a month's worth of meals and put them in the freezer just so that I could throw them in the crock pot after I have the baby, so I don't have to really stress about food. And it's just more about like getting meals in. I think a lot of times when you're postpartum, you're exhausted, you're trying to fit in sleep when you can, which is really important. Like try to sleep whenever you can. Try to take some time for yourself, like, take a shower, get ready, wash your hair, maybe even put on a little bit of makeup. Like don't wear your nasty sweats, just make yourself feel good, because I know it can be a really difficult time. And then also just make sure you're eating like some regular meals and figure out what needs to happen to make that happen. Do you need help from your partner? Like tell him what to do. Like literally sit there with the baby and order him around the kitchen. Like even if he doesn't know anything about cooking, like he can do it. So just figure out what needs to happen so that you can get at least 3 good meals in, and then have him go to the store and stock up on snacks. Like you just pushed a baby out of your vagina, like you deserve it. So and then just make sure you're taking some time for yourself. I know it's a really exhausting time. And then one of the biggest tips I have for new moms, though, that they never think about is do not turn the lights on when your baby wakes up to nurse. Do not look at your phone. Do not do it. You will regret it. It disrupts your sleep and it disrupts the baby's sleep. Have a Himalayan pink salt lamp. Have an amber tinted light bulb that you turn on that's pretty dim, like maybe put a pillowcase over it and just turn that on. you can play a podcast or something like that, but don't turn the lights on and don't scroll through your phone, because now you're wide awake. And so you're going to have a hard time getting back to bed, and so is baby. So that's another thing that like new moms sometimes make that mistake. And I'm like, no, prioritize your sleep. Make sure you're practicing sleep hygiene. And even if you can, like when that baby starts crying, roll over, grab those blue blocking glasses, pop them on, and say like, I'm ready to nurse, you know? How to add milk back into the diet after SIBO and cutting out dairy for over a year. Had an iced coffee one afternoon and found myself in the bathroom at midnight. I was not a happy lady. Yeah, sometimes you have to do it, like if you're super sensitive to dairy, you have to do it like a tablespoon at a time. Like you do a tablespoon for like a week, and then you move up to 2 tablespoons for like a week, like literally like micro-dosing it, just because it can be really, really rough for people that have cut it out for a long time. Also, make sure it's high quality, like make sure it doesn't have additives. If you can do like, you know, non-homogenized, it's best. Make sure it's high quality, like organic. If you are comfortable with raw and that's something you want to try, that can be helpful. Sometimes goats or buffalo or sheep can be a lot easier to digest. So just experimenting with types, but also low and slow, baby, low and slow. Can't wait to sign up with you as soon as I can afford it. Yeah, I am so excited. I'm actually changing my packages around a little bit so that I can offer some payment plans. They're much more structured, so they're actually going to be launched this weekend pretty much. They're almost done. I've just been like finishing up everything. But yeah, like I'm absolutely excited to work with everyone, and I'm trying to make it more accessible, because I know that like sometimes it can feel like it's just not accessible, and I don't want it to ever feel that way. I'm trying to save money on supplements. I used to spend hundreds, but now I'm a bit better. I still want to cut down. I'm thinking of stopping B-complex. How did you cut down? I just stopped taking everything. Like, I just stopped all of it. And then I slowly added in one thing at a time. And I sometimes, like, if you're like supplement obsessed, you need to like just stop for like a month and like convince yourself so that you believe that you don't need supplements to survive. And then like maybe say like, okay, I'm going to take 3 supplements at a time. Me personally, I have a lot of supplements because I'm a nutritionist, and like I just am that way. And I'm the type of person I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like this today. I'm going to grab this, this, and this, you know, and I'll take like 3 that day and then like 3 this day. Like I just am weird like that. But I usually don't take more than 3 or 4 supplements. And this is coming from someone that used to take like literally 30 supplements a day, maybe even 40 or 50. Like I'm not even joking. So just force yourself to narrow it down. Make sure you do believe deep in your mind, that you don't need supplements to be nourished. And that's why in Fully Nourished, I focus so much on like food-based supplements, because I truly wanted you to simplify everything so you could let your body have a break from like the handfuls of supplements you've been taking for so long. So many women are doing that. Just got back from the doctor who told me to go on Provera for several months to get my period back after HA. She just looked at my ovaries and hormone levels. Is that all there is to it? Well, keep in mind Provera is like a progestin, so it's a fake progesterone. It has a little bit of an androgenic, I guess, like function in the body. It's pretty estrogenic as well. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where you can decide Provera is not progesterone. So just don't get confused. It's not bioidentical progesterone. It is a progestin. It has very different functions. It can induce a bleed, but it does not induce an ovulation. Very rarely will it induce an ovulation. So it's not all there is to it, but sometimes it is the only thing that works to reset the cycle, but there are other options as well. It's just you kind of have to figure out what's best for you. But yeah, Provera can be a good option. And if she told you that's pretty much all you can do, then weigh your options and kind of always listen to your gut. You know what I mean? Like, what feels right? Did you trust her? Did you feel like, you know, you guys were partners in health? Like she cared about your health? Like, you know, trust your gut in every situation. How do you know if you have copper toxicity? You got to test your minerals. There are signs of copper toxicity. So that's something that you would want to test for. Like there are symptoms of copper toxicity, but there's literally like dozens and dozens of symptoms. And so many people are going to hear those symptoms and be like, oh my gosh, that's me. And it's like, you don't really know until you test. Okay, TMI, but we were totally there, girl. My stools are frequent, but they have changed. Not as full as before. Weird. Yeah, well, if you're not eating as much fiber as you were, like as much bulk, you're not gonna have like as much bulk to your stool. It's just how it goes. But as long as they feel satisfying and they pass well, like that's all that matters. I feel so awesome that I ate a yogurt you hold is pretty okay yogurt. Just by the way, if you stick the yogurt in the freezer for 15 to 20 minutes, it takes it to the next level. Oh, awesome. I think you were talking about Siggies. I also have some nasty BO right now, and I legit never smell. That's a good sign. I know it can really suck, but like bentonite clay masks can really, really help with that. How do we work with you one-on-one? You can reach out to my assistant at support@jessicashwellness.com, like not to sound like an infomercial, and just let her know that you're interested in working with me, and I will be notifying everyone that's interested, because there's been quite a few people that have been waiting for my new packages to come out in the next couple days. So I'm just gonna, everyone's gonna be let know that's been waiting. But yeah, I will be launching my new packages this weekend. I was about to watch a show with my boyfriend. It's 8 p.m. here, but instead I ran out of the room yelling back to him, Jess is live, Jess is live. You're so cute. You guys are so cute. I love you guys. And I got your email, by the way. Thank you so much, Jess. It's always great to hear these Q&As. As someone else said, cannot thank you enough. Oh, I appreciate you guys. Can you talk a little bit about vitamin E to help detox estrogen? Yeah, so vitamin E has a few different functions. It helps with the liver, so it kind of is like an estrogen blocker in the sense that it kind of neutralizes it, makes its effects less potent. It also acts as an antioxidant, meaning that it can lower inflammation, and it blocks polyunsaturated fats, which are going to drive prostaglandins up, which can drive estrogen up further. So it has a few different functions, and I really like it because it helps your overall health. It's not just like for estrogen detox, it actually neutralizes estrogen very, very well, and it can help your liver function better, and it blocks those highly inflammatory polyunsaturated fats that are sometimes being released from the tissues as well. Even if you're not eating a lot of polyunsaturated fats in your diet, keep in mind we store a lot in our fat cells, so that's where they can come from. P.S. Your shirt is so pretty. Thank you. I got it at TJ Maxx. I sometimes will find something at TJ Maxx and I'm like, score, grabbing it. You know when you see something somewhere and you're like, I don't know if I want it, like you don't buy it and it's gone and you regret it? Yeah, I didn't do that with this shirt, but I've done it with a lot of shirts. I know you recommend eating every 3 to 4 hours, but I'm starving by hour 2. I honor this and eat, but I truly believe I'm eating enough protein, carb, and fat, so I'm a little lost. I wouldn't stress about it. If your body needs it, I truly believe in honoring your body as well. So there will be a time, especially if you've gone undernourished for so long in the sense you just weren't feeding yourself properly, your body can sometimes take a while to get to a point where you can go 3, 4, 5 hours between meals. Sometimes people are not eating enough at a meal. They need a really big meal to get them to that 3 or 4 hour mark. They need to play around with their meal size a little bit. So don't feel afraid to eat a substantial amount. You don't need to eat 2 eggs. You can eat 3 or 4. You know what I mean? You can load it if you're having a really hard time making it to that 3 hour mark. For me, I have a really hard time. I'm hungry all the time unless I eat a pretty substantial meal, and that's gonna happen every 3 to 4 hours. I'm really hungry in the first part of the day up until 3 p.m. I'm just starving. I just want to eat so much. And then towards the end of the day, I kind of eat a little lighter. I just had a piece of fish with some lemon juice on it and a banana, and that's going to probably be my dinner. I might have some chocolate milk before bed, but that's going to be it because I ate so much in the first half of the day. So I think you should just honor it, and there's no rules that override what your body says. If your body's saying something, it is the rule. Any thoughts on calming tinnitus? I was reading it can be triggered by viral infections, but there's a lot of mixed information on it. I can't wait to see your HTMA because, yeah, it can be caused by a lot of different things. Viral infections, bacterial infections, B1 deficiency. I mean, seriously, it can be a lot. But I'm excited to see what your mineral analysis is, specifically if there's any heavy metals moving, because that could also cause some tinnitus. I want to get to 3 to 4 hours for my sanity. Yeah, I feel ya. It can be annoying and feel like a full-time job to eat every 2 hours. I don't have insurance coverage to get blood work done, and I'm feeling like it's expensive. Any recommendations on where to start? I think it's one of those things where if you don't have insurance, don't waste your money on blood tests with the doctor, just because they are going to kind of not tell you very much. I think an easy way to start testing your metabolism, your metabolic function, is just by taking your temperature with a basal body thermometer and your pulse, which you can take manually or use an oximeter. An oximeter is going to cost you maybe $15, $20, and a thermometer is going to cost you maybe $10. If you want to do something a little bit more pricey, I run the hair tissue mineral analysis is going to be $99. I run the Dutch test, which is a comprehensive hormone analysis, for $250. And so sometimes that's comparable with what people are going to pay out of pocket if they don't have insurance, and it tells you a lot more. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for, but sometimes blood tests are not necessary to start treating your body well. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need blood tests to tell us, like, hey, we need to eat more frequently, we need to eat higher quality, we need to eat protein, carbon, fat. We need to get more sleep. We need to prioritize exercise. We don't need blood tests to tell us those things. And sometimes implementing those things fixes our issues. What could headaches after eating mean? Do you have other digestive issues? It could be that you're not digesting food very well. Hi LH, I know ovulation is the goal, fully nourished student, but uterine lining is super thick. Just wanted to avoid Provera. Yeah. Sometimes Dong Quai will induce a period. Some people have success with it. I've never personally used it, and I don't really like to use it. Like, I would never use it with a client, but I've seen people that have induced a period with Dong Quai. I'm trying to think of what else. Organic Olivia's main magic. Some women have said that induced a period for them because it increases blood flow to the uterus. So those are some things to look into. But yeah, I know, like, thick uterine lining can kind of be a problem. Going from Mirena IUD with no period to copper IUD. Any advice for dealing with getting period ovulation cramps back and getting hormone levels normal again and detox from birth control hormones? Just kind of depends on how long you had the hormonal IUD. Remember that the Mirena IUD is the most potent the first year you have it, and a lot of times will block ovulation then, but like over time it will kind of wear after that. So depending on how long you had it, it probably wasn't as potent, but it can be enough to obviously prevent a pregnancy. And so I wouldn't stress about it. Like, I think the stress of coming off of birth control can be enough. And so it's just kind of one of those things where you don't know how your body's going to respond at all. And so just let your body respond how it needs to respond. Your goal is to lower your stress, take care of yourself, get sunlight exposure, make sure you're eating frequently, make sure you're sleeping, exercising, and sweating, and just kind of let your body do its thing. And then if there's issues, then you can kind of dig into them. But sometimes we create undue stress just from stressing about oh no, I'm coming off of birth control, how do I detox my body? No, your body detoxes itself as long as it has what it needs to create those hormones, and as long as it has what it needs to open up detoxification pathways. How to explain that nuts and seeds don't want to be eaten? You guys can watch some of my stories on nuts and seeds. I'm going to do something on seed cycling very soon, and I just want to destroy it. And then I would also look into, I'm trying to think of who talks about this. I have a story on gut health that's good, pretty good. I do have one on nuts and seeds, I believe. Polyunsaturated fats are another one that's great. My PUFA story, or my fat story. And then, like I said, Cows Eat Grass blog is awesome. Matt Blackburn's pretty good. He's a little extreme, guys, but he does have a lot of good information. I'm trying to think of who else. Kate Deering is really awesome. Tomo Littlewood and Isaac Pullman. How do you know if you have insulin resistance? You have high insulin levels and your body's secreting a lot of insulin. It shows that your cells are not sensitive, and so your body's having to secrete more insulin in order to get a response. What ingredients should I look for avoid in kombucha? I'm new to it and I love it. A lot of times I don't list ingredients. I'm usually trying to avoid lactic acid producing bacteria, which unfortunately a lot of companies use because it's cheap. It's not really great for gut health, and it can eventually actually cause gut disruption. So I just would use it as the occasional treat, don't go overboard on it, but I just look for something high quality, and not stress about it. What makeup are you currently wearing? So gorgeous. Trying to find something natural to fill eyebrows in. Okay, so my eyebrows are not natural because I was on a trip and I ran out of my brow pencil and I was like, I'm just gonna grab something really quickly, and so it's just a literal an e.l.f. brow pencil. But my makeup is always Tarte's Amazonian clay powder. I love their airbrush powder. And then my bronzer, I just use a little bit, is a Physicians Formula, like their natural one. It's like a 1 on the EWG. And then I don't wear any eye makeup. I mean, rarely I do. And then the lip gloss is just Beauty Counter. They're like a nude lip gloss. But yeah, minimal. Nothing fancy. I'll do a makeup tutorial for you guys soon. Okay, Instagram's giving me 1 minute, so I'll do a couple more. What do you think of supplementing with GABA? It's really good. It can sometimes suppress your own production of GABA, so you just kind of need to be careful with it. I noticed after a weekend of eating like Shiat happens, my face is so puffy. I swear after 2 days off FN recommendations, it looked like I lost 10 pounds in my face. Yeah, I know. It totally can cause like water retention in your face. Can you talk about thyroid and which range I should be? I will talk about that on a different day. It's not really about ranges. I would use temperatures and pulses as a better marker of if your thyroid's functioning really well. Hey Jessica, love your top. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, one more question. Gina says, when I first stopped keto 5 months ago, I was totally worried about gaining weight, and guess what? Didn't gain any weight, and I feel healthier since adding in carbs. Your advice has been amazing. Awesome. Okay, guys, I gotta end this. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna hop on stories tomorrow and answer more questions that you submitted on Monday. Love you.